Hello and welcome to another episode of Thread Talks. I am delighted to have this guest on my sofa today. She has had an illustrious career in beauty journalism, writing for Vogue, columnist for the FT. She's a model in her past life. She still
You
could
found that
be.
out.
And she has a podcast called Keeping Faces. But most recently, she has become an entrepreneur, rightly so, launching all her expertise and experience into a beautiful fragrance. I have Kathleen Baird-Murray on the sofa with me.
You, Vanita, that was such a lovely introduction.
Well, I'm very excited to have you here because I've tried to get you to join me, but it's been busy and we've been talking about it for a very long time. But we have known each other
For a
for a
long time now,
while.
yeah.
And I think you're definitely the go-to person for anything about beauty, whether it's advice, your network. I mean, you've just been doing it for a while.
It's been 30 years, which is slightly terrifying when you think about it like that.
It is, but it must have changed so much over the years. But you know, you're still there, and I presume you love it.
I do, I do. I think, I will say I love it, but, and it's a sort of interesting but. I didn't enter it because I loved beauty. I entered it because I didn't like weddings. And that might sound a bit odd, but
Ah,
I had
okay.
I had done all my training as a journalist, and my first job was a great job, but it was on a bridal magazine. And after a couple of years of that, I just thought, well, this is not I'm really not that interested in wedding dresses. I can't do many more wedding dresses. And so the only way I could meet people, I wasn't from London, I didn't have lots of journalistic connections or anything like that. So the only way I could meet people in a sort of natural way and progress my career was actually through beauty appointments, which I was able to attend because obviously brides want to know about lipstick and cosmetics and treatments and all the rest of it. So it was through those appointments that I met people that worked on beauty desks on other magazines that were broader. And that's how I got into beauty.
Oh, that's really interesting because I feel the same. Like I wasn't obsessed with beauty,
Yes.
but I just came up with an idea that fell into obviously the world of beauty, and here I am also 20 years later.
And presumably tapped into the skills that you had.
Yeah. Well, actually, I don't thread,
No, but I mean
but
your
just
entrepreneurial skills.
entrepreneurial.
Yeah.
Yes. So it was just a great idea at the time. But it is really interesting how people get to where they
Mm.
are, and sometimes it happens it's a happy accident.
Yes, I think it was a happy accident because actually, I mean, beauty, when I started, my first job on a beauty desk was with Anna Marie Solovey at Elle magazine. And we had an amazing editor, Nicola Gio, she's still at the Times. And she was great because she'd give me other things to write about, not just about beauty. So she'd sort of come up behind you. You couldn't see her. She'd just be like, Kathleen, I want you to write 800 words about riding a moped around London. You'd be like, oh, okay, okay. And so you go off and you do that. So it was great as a journalist, being on a magazine. Elle was fantastic. And
It's
it
a
was
different time
fun.
as
It was a
well.
different time. And
That's all we had,
yeah,
magazines, and
and
actually,
yeah, we did. We
your word
literally
was
only
gospel.
had that, and
Yeah.
we still had faxes, and we still had the internet was. I don't even know if it was a thing then. I don't think it really was. I think it was coming in. Yeah, but it was still, you were very reliant on, you know, everything being very manual and analog. So
Yeah,
yeah.
but I think, and also the first magazines I had growing up was Jackie, and I think you were probably on the front cover of a Jackie
No,
magazine that
I
I
didn't do
had.
Jackie.
Oh, you didn't do Jackie?
I was more like Looks magazine. Looks, which was published by email back in the day. So Looks and sometimes Just 17. And then I kind of skipped all the cool stuff basically. And then I graduated to all those sort of women's magazines like Prima and whatnot. So
Amazing. I love
was
the,
not very glamorous.
but I love the photos you often put on Instagram. And yeah, it was a time.
They're
It was
good.
a
They're
time.
good for laughs now, actually. They do really
You were
make me laugh when
fantastic
I
on
find
them. I'm
them.
always like, wow.
Thank you.
So, but now tell me, I'm so intrigued to hear about how you pivoted. Well, it's not, it feels very natural that you now have your own beauty brand and a
Yes.
product that you've launched, which is beautiful. But tell me how you
Um,
entered that journey.
Gosh, it's a good question. I mean, I entered it very slowly. It was less of a pivot and more of a very slow drive, basically, because I started working on it maybe 10 years ago. And um, and actually the idea for it, the seeds were set for that, I would say, even as long as when I started my career, because that was when I first went back to Burma we called it Burma then, but it's Myanmar really is its correct name. And I went back then. My mother had moved from Myanmar when she was about 13 to live in Ireland after her parents had died, and she was half Burmese, half Irish, and no one in the family had been back since then. So I don't know, I was in my mid-20s, and I guess that's quite a good age, isn't it, for sort of you're at that age where you're actually interested in stuff that your parents talk to you about, and especially this country that we'd had no inkling of the magic that it contained. We weren't kind of, my mother had basically assimilated in Ireland and become totally English speaking and looking and acting, and all that side of her life had gone because she'd lost her parents, and so there was no way for her to express it. So for me to go back there was a big deal, and actually it was it was an incredible moment, and I met all my second cousins, my third cousins, all the family that was left, and it just felt so kind of held in love. And even though I barely knew them, they didn't know me.
But you felt something.
I definitely felt something, and I was quite relieved I did feel something, because you grow up in London, you're quite cynical, everything's so fast, everything's so it was really just very, very touching, and that connection stayed. And then I would say about 10 years ago, I was thinking I really want to do something else. I'd written books, I'd done other things, and I thought I want to tell a story in a different way. So I wanted to make a fragrance that would capture all the kind of luminosity and all the magic and all the joy of that country. And I worked with Frank Wilco, who at the time was quite famous for making Santal 33 for Le Labo, and he had a lot of experience with the white flowers. He was also extremely nice, very calm, very efficient, very measured, and actually very brilliant, because he manages to make things feel quite contemporary and modern, but he can tell a story through fragrance. So I sent him a little box of things like some sandalwood prayer beads, and we had long conversations about things I didn't like, as much as the things I did like. I don't like vanilla, for example, but I love white flowers. I like things to smell fresh and green, and I wanted an element of, I think it was his idea to put cardamom pods in there as well. So it was all kind of very beautifully assembled, and then it sat in a drawer for another 8, 9 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Okay. So you
yeah.
thought about it that far back.
I thought about it that far back, and it was ready, and it was ready to go, but life wasn't ready. So lots of things happened in the world. We had the pandemic, we had, sadly there was a coup in Myanmar, and I mean, there's always things happening in Myanmar. There was an earthquake, obviously,
Yeah.
about a month ago. So lots of things happened that kind of slowed everything down. But I think it's a better product for having waited.
Sometimes there's a
I
reason.
do. Yeah,
So,
I do. I definitely think, as much as I would have loved to bring it out back then, I'm actually glad I didn't, because I wasn't ready for it.
that's so beautiful because people find different ways to express their heritage or love or, and having a fragrance to tell the story is such a nice idea. And it's called Catch Me If I Fall.
Yes.
And I've actually got just behind you. Oh, it's here it is.
Oh,
And I have my own bottle. It's such a beautiful bottle, and I just keep it by my laptop actually, just so I can look at it because it's so pretty. And obviously, I wear it every day. But it is lovely. And why Catch Me If I Fall? Was that just
Catch Me If I Fall is a bit of a silly story, but it's a good story. I I'd had quite a sort of difficult period in my life, and as many women do in their, how old am I now? I'm 57, so I started this when I was like 47, so I would say early 50s. Things were, in fact, actually, no, late 40s, early 50s. Things were quite rocky, and anyway, and then I kind of, I was in a new-ish relationship. Everything was better. Everything was coming together. Life goes in fits and starts and waves, and we were on a good wave. Good wave was there. It was all lovely. And I was over at my boyfriend's house, and he had one of those, it's such a silly story. He had one of those giant yoga balls. And he was in the kitchen cooking, ignoring me or not listening to me. And I was like stretching out over the ball, and I just shouted out, "Catch me if I fall." And it just hit me. And I thought, that's what we all need. That's what we all want. We want to know that there is someone out there for us, be that a friend, be that one of our children, be that someone at work, be that our boyfriend, our husband, our girlfriend, our whatever, whoever. family far away in Myanmar, even, we just need to know that there's someone who cares and someone that will pick you up when you're down and be there to cheer you on when you're doing well. And so that's how the name came.
And did he catch you?
He was in the kitchen cooking supper, so not listening, but he
Nice
does
idea.
catch me all the time. So that's a good
Yeah,
thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, I love that. I love that
Yes.
sentiment behind it. And did you feel, I think a lot of entrepreneurs say, I've got this great idea and I don't know what to do. Shall I do it? Shall I not? Shall I leave my job? It was different for you, I guess, because you can write and do this at the same time.
Yes.
But do you think it required us, did you feel that you needed to be brave to make the leap, or was it just something that just all came
Well,
organically?
I think it's really interesting, that thing about bravery, because you can spend your life waiting to have the perfect conditions, the perfect time to have a baby, the perfect time to quit the job, the perfect time to take on a job, even. And what I've learned is there is no such thing as a perfect time.
Yeah,
And I spent ages thinking, right, I need to have the amount of money that everybody seems to have when they start a new beauty brand, which is 1.5 to 2 million, to get going, to get the staff, to get the office, to do things properly, to do things in a sort of very planned way. And that would have been great. I'm not saying it wouldn't, but I realized that the longer I was putting it off, the more I was I was at that point where I was like, I actually need to focus on what I can do and not on what I can't do. And there was lots that I could do. There was so much that I could do without actually even spending any money. So I think the lovely thing is I didn't also have a lot to lose. It's not like I had a massive high salary job that I was giving up to be able to, pursue my own interests. And that can be as empowering as having a lot. Having nothing can be as empowering as having a
I think
lot.
that's true.
And I think that's what we forget sometimes. You kind of people end up staying in situations for a long time that they're maybe not happy in because they are afraid of what will happen if they don't have that particular,
Yeah, especially I think
positioning. But actually,
later in life it's quite hard. I know lots of friends who sort of say I would really like to start a business, but they feel like their time's up. And I'm like, no,
well, Ferrari didn't start his Ferraris till he was 50, did he? So
there you go. And I look at, entrepreneurs like Trinny Woodall and Bobby Brown in
yes,
the beauty
yes.
industry, and I think it's just such an inspiration that
Yes, and I think
you can do
there
it.
has been a whole new wave of women actually who have got older and who've just thought, you know what, I'm at the age now where I want to do something. My kids are a bit older, or this career has kind of run its course. I really felt, and I still feel like I know I can write. I don't need to prove that anymore. So it was time to do something else. It was time to kind of learn new skills, and actually that's been one of the biggest joys and also hardships.
We
I'm
were talking
laughing.
about that.
Well, I wasn't talking, I was actually moaning about it. I was like, let's just be honest here. I was having a proper old
And I was
grumble.
moaning back.
There are many new skills. I'm perfectly happy to, when I have, big enough budgets to employ people to do those jobs that I am not good at, I will be very happy to hand that baton over. But there are still lots of jobs that I've found, I didn't know how warehouses work. I didn't know how Shopify works. I mean, I'm still learning lots. These are
And there's so
specializations.
much now because
Yeah.
there is the technology side of everything.
Yes.
And I think, we were just talking about, I don't know, digital ads versus SEO versus
Yes.
emails. I mean, there's just so much always to think about. And also, what do you spend money on? What's going to have the best
Yes.
results, especially if you're small?
Yes.
So I guess you just try things and then you learn sometimes,
Yes. I said something
not in the
to
greatest way.
I had a friend who, he's got a master's in business, and I said, do you ever feel like you've got your master's in business, but you might as well just not bother because you're at the end of the day, what everybody I talk to seems to just be throwing stuff up at walls and hoping that it sticks. I mean, is there more science to it than that? I don't know. I'm sure there is.
I don't know. I'm a little bit cynical about studying business. I sort of think it gives you a bit of a structure, maybe,
Yes.
and it helps you,
Structure would be helpful.
yeah, planning, maybe
Yeah.
prioritizing. But until you're in it,
No.
it's a whole different thing
Yes.
because the challenges you face and the challenges you have to navigate. I don't think you can ever learn that at business school.
I don't think I could, and I did try and read some business books before
Yeah,
I started
always
out,
try.
but I felt like I've learned a lot faster now that I'm in it, rather than on the other side when I was reading a book and it just felt very dry and I really kind of So, okay, this is really
When you
boring.
practice having a baby, it's like, well, I'm going
Yes,
to do this,
yes,
and I'm going to do
yes.
that, and I'm going to put it in a routine. Like, yeah, like hell, that's going to happen.
And then you
Nothing
throw
goes
it
to
all
plan.
out. Yeah.
Exactly. And you have to be in it, in the thick of it, and you
Yes.
get through it somehow.
Yes.
Yeah. And yes, we were just saying, and it's still
It has its
problematic.
ups and
It
downs.
does. So I have to ask you, as
Yes.
you are the beauty guru, which now spills into wellness as well, but what,
Yes.
what are your key tips and tricks at the moment? Because I think it's something we all struggle with. And how do you balance the wellness with working, and just it's quite overwhelming. I feel it's overwhelming, and it's just I wonder if they're
It's really overwhelming. Like even on a basic health wellness thing, I find the amount of pills I have to take and lotions and like, it's just, I mean, we were going to bed the other night and I was sort of looking across at my boyfriend. I was like, you just get into bed. Like I have to take actual pills that keep me functioning and keep my bone density up and keep my, like I have to do all of that. Why do you not have to do any of that? So much. It's like a full-time job. And he laughs at me because I have all these jars of vitamins that sit on the on the shelf gathering dust. Well, I got quite good for 2 weeks and then it just fell off the ladder. It
can
fell off
just a
again.
multivitamin tablet
I
do the
know. I
trick?
think there is a company out there actually that does bespoke vitamins, but I'm sure if I got them all made up, it would all change again. But no, those. I do think though the thing that we need in life more than anything is something they can't sell us, which is consistency, which probably comes back to discipline. But it's boring. But I do think if you can be consistent with your beauty routine, if you can be consistent with taking your HRT or taking your vitamin supplements or whatever it is, if you can be consistent with exercise, consistent with meditation, these things would probably make our lives.
Rather than doing what I do, which is try something for 2 weeks, think that hasn't worked.
That's what I do.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
But you've got great skin.
I will take that, even though
So you're definitely doing something
under a
right.
ring light mirror, it could easily prove you wrong, but we're not going to go there.
No.
Yeah.
I've just spritzed your perfume on everyone, actually. Rebecca, Jazz. It's lovely because it's really fresh, and sometimes it's really hard to pinpoint what's in there. So tell me what's in there.
So the top notes, which I like to call the instant attraction, because it's the first thing that compels you to hopefully to lean into the fragrance. It draws you in. It's got cardamom pods and green leaves. That's where it gets its freshness from, as well as neroli and bergamot. Then it has a beating heart of jasmine, iris, freesia, and some amberette. And then it has in the base notes, which I like to call its beating heart, it has cardamom, cedarwood, sandalwood, and white musk,
Oh, wow. And that's,
which is very warming and grounding.
yeah, I feel quite an unusual combination because one feels quite, the base notes, is that how you describe them? Feels quite
Yes.
woody. And then the
Yes.
top notes are really sort of fresh and crisp
And green
yeah.
and and then you've got this middle, which is like those intense white flowers, which is never, it's never overpowering. It doesn't, I didn't want things like tuberose in there because I find that too heavy. But I wanted it to be something that you could wear in a city like London or New York or Paris or wherever, as well as, if you are lucky enough to be in Yangon.
Oh, yeah, what a lovely thought. And I think that it's a very wearable scent because I love the fact that it feels every day. It doesn't feel like it's meant for the evening or
No, you
it's
could
just
wear it in
something
the
easy.
evening,
You could
but
wear it, yeah, anytime.
it does sort of become a part of you quite easily.
Yeah. That's a good way to describe it. And how are you going to extend the range, or are you looking at?
We will be. I can't reveal plans yet, but it won't be perhaps in the way that you expect it to be. I don't know.
But that's great. I
Yeah.
always say surprise and delight. That's
Yeah, surprise and
something every
delight, I think
entrepreneur should do.
is yeah. I really, there are some entrepreneurs out there who I really admire because they kind of go a bit left field every so often, and you kind of think, oh, that's weird. Why did they do that? And if ever I think that, it's usually a good thing. It's usually that they've had an idea that they are really passionate about and they've followed that through,
Yeah,
rather than just followed the playbook.
and I like the fact that beauty's changed so much since we've been in it. And I remember when I first put a chair in Fenwick, it was really, everything was a little bit predictable, and it was quite nice throwing brows out there. And it's also it's really interesting to see how you know, things are done differently
Mm,
now in
mm.
terms of the service element, that you can step
Yes,
in anywhere, get anything done.
yes.
Um, but also how people are selling beauty, like Beauty Pie, you know, she's just Marcia has done it very differently. So so it is great. I would love to take you back to your, because I
Mm.
your time working in magazines. I feel that you've seen everything and how beauty has evolved, and you've also interviewed some incredible people. And I just wondered if any sort of um, have stayed with you as being quite remarkable interviews, or some, or people that you have just thought were
Well, I mean, it's funny you should ask that because actually, one of the things that first appealed to me about working in beauty was the people. And there was so much talent, and there were so many characters, and they were all larger than life. And so you know, I've had a lot of fun getting to know a lot of people either backstage at shows or, you know, plastic surgeons. There was a time, I think when I was at Tatler, we did this plastic surgery supplement. We were the first, probably the first magazine to do it as a supplement, and I was the first editor to do it. And I'm not a massive fan of plastic surgery, although now I've got older, I am
viewing
leaning
it
into it and
completely
thinking,
differently.
oh, half a facelift, yes, please, I'd
Yeah.
be up for that. But at the time, I was still a bit kind of skeptical because, you know, I was young, foolish, what did I know? Anyway, but I did do one interview with Ivo Patangi. I had a great editor, Geordie Gregg at Tatler. He was fantastic because he would just kind of let you do what you wanted to do. He trusted you and he could tell that you had good ideas and he would just encourage you to do that. So off I went to Rio de Janeiro and I spent a week with him, Ivo Patangi, and that was incredible. He is, at the time, he's passed away now, but at the time he was sort of very much celebrated as this kind of iconic surgeon in Rio, a city where people, you know, worship the body beautiful, particularly then. So much so that a few years before, they'd even had a whole carnival float for him. Like he'd been on this carnival float going around. So it was great. And I kind of watched him do surgery. It was very much at the end of his career. I still suspect that maybe they were setting up the surgery so he would kind of just sweep in at the last bit and I would come and watch. I didn't watch the whole operation from start to finish. Because you know it's a physical thing. It's a long. Often these procedures are long, and you have to have stamina. And he was, by this stage, he must have been in his 80s. So anyway, but it ended a bit badly because he took me for lunch on his island, and we went on a boat, and he sort of got a bit merry, I would say, and I got a bit like, right, I think I'm going now. So it was an interesting time. I kind of obviously didn't put that bit in the piece, but mostly the piece was I just found there was so much there in that moment,
That definitely captures a time
and
and a
in that
place,
life
doesn't
experience,
it?
it definitely does.
Plastic surgery,
Yeah,
Brazil,
I
and
know.
then you having to exit pretty sharpish.
Yes, I mean I'm laughing about it. Well, I shouldn't be really. It's not great. In fact, I don't even know if I should be telling the story.
Do you think plastic surgery is still a big thing at the moment, or is it more
I
Botox? Or
think it's coming back.
do you?
If it ever went away. I think that this is just my feel. I'm here. I don't know. It could be just because I'm getting older, and sometimes that happens as you get older. People start telling you more. Oh, I think I'm going to get a half facelift. Oh, I really want a blepharoplasty. Can never say that word. So I think that there's a whole kind of segment of journalists that are getting older, and so they're starting to write about it. And I think also probably the recovery times are getting faster. You know, any operation is going to be a risk, isn't it? You kind of some people react badly to anesthetics and there's nothing you can do about that. So, but actually increasingly some of these operations they do under I think local anesthetic, don't they? So it's getting easier and easier. Botox and fillers, I don't know. I think there'll always be a place for Botox. There's a whole generation that have grown up with it. I can't tell how old anybody is anymore. I haven't had it yet, but
Is there anything
ironically,
coming up?
I'm going to be having it, I think, for migraines, and so that will be interesting because I kind of didn't. I hoped I was going to be able to just skip it, but migraines.
We'll try that one, Kathleen. I'm having
Do
it
you
for
get
migraines.
migraines?
No,
No, no, seriously, I don't want to have it. I'm really happy if I never have to have it.
but tell me, do you think there are there any other alternatives coming up in this day and age? Because people keep saying, "Oh, My children, Anya, who's 25, is saying, oh, Botox is so yesterday, everybody's now wanting to be natural. So do you think the generation below might be thinking there'll be something else, I'm sure. They definitely want to preserve their youth and they start a lot earlier. But I just wondered if there was any.
I think it's quite easy to say that you're going to, preserve your youth when you are youthful. Like if you're 25, then I mean, why would you have Botox? Sorry, I'm
But
as
they're thinking about it now. You know,
yes,
I'm amazed that they all put their sunscreen on, that they are thinking about facials at that age. I mean, we
yes.
certainly didn't.
No.
So there is definitely an awareness, and it could be social media.
Mm.
But I'm curious as to whether, you know, what's next.
Facials are good because facials at any age. In fact, I did have facials when I was younger, and I think I think facials are really underestimated because if you were to have a regular facial, the process of relaxing, and especially if you allow them to get their fingers into your scalp and work on your head a bit, it's so good for your well-being and that if you are feeling relaxed, you are going to look more relaxed, you're going to look better. So I do think facials and great skincare as a first, obviously.
Any great facials that you've had recently types of facials? I'm overwhelmed by the selection of facials. So
There are quite a few good ones, and actually, I've got to have one tomorrow, which I'm really excited about.
tell us about that.
For me, with facials, it's not about necessarily the skincare. Although skincare is important, skincare is really important. It's more about the person's hands and how good they are. And years ago, a beauty brand took me to Hungary to learn how to do a facial, and I realized I am not good at facials. I'm better at receiving facials.
There's definitely a
There's a
skill.
skill, there's a
Yeah.
skill, there's training, there's like, they can kind of feel what's going on in the fascia of the muscles and everything. So it's sort of no, I think it's like your girls and your women mother in the brow bar afterwards when they give you that little massage. It's only a few minutes long, but you just sink back into the chair, don't you, and wish.
Well, we call it brow pinching now because
Yes,
actually it sounds painful. It's not at all, but it is just about using your hands to stimulate and
yes,
to remove toxins. And I think that's why I guess face gym is so
yes.
popular. It's just maybe instead of going to have the Botox, you just get circulation
Mm,
going. And
mm.
I did try a hydrofacial,
I
and it
love
felt like a
hydrofacial.
Hoover was like,
I think it's good
yeah, it
hydrofacial.
felt good.
Yeah.
The microneedling, which everybody says I
Do you have
advises, I tried
microneedling?
it once. It was fine, but everybody keeps saying that is a good thing to do, especially I get a lot of pigmentation.
Yeah.
So there are all these things. It's kind of like, again, how many things can we do?
How many things could you do? I
And just do
mean,
it consistently, probably to get the
pigmentation
results.
is the bane of my life, but I am learning to live with it a bit because the alternative I think is to go in and have lots of laser, which is great, but that's also a lot of upkeep. And between grey hair, which is every 3.5 weeks, um, and laser, I sort of think hair's going to win.
Yeah,
Makeup I can cover if I need to, and it
yeah,
doesn't really bother me. So,
yeah.
yeah,
Tell me, Kathleen, what are the three most important items in your beauty bag at the moment?
gosh, that's a good question. I mean, if I could only have three, I would probably have a really good cleanser. Um, but if I'm only allowed three things, oh no, you're saying the most important three that I have of, say, 10.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's all right
Otherwise, we'll
then.
be here all day,
Otherwise,
but
we'll
we'd
be here
love
all
to
day.
know.
All right, I tried it again because I went to a dinner the other night and I was reminded about what an amazing product it is the Eve Lom Rescue Mask. It's an oldie, really old. It's like 25, 20 years old now. And it's such a great mask because you put it on, it's got a clay base, it's got little tiny granules in it, which you can decide if you're going to rub or not. And it kind of dries and then you just wash it off and you can decide how much pressure you want to put on various parts of your skin as you wash it off. So you're exfoliating with it. But it's also something you can use if you get a spot. You can just put it on a bit more thickly on top of the spot and it deals with that as well. And it's a very old product, but I just really like that. I am I'm trying to be consistent and failing miserably. I'm about to go into a whole range from a brand, which I haven't done for a very long time. And that will be Julius's. He makes very natural products. I really like his products. So I used his cleanser last night. It's a great cleanser. I felt like my skin was shining in a good way after I'd finished with it. Julius's is very, very natural. I've also tried his sunscreen, which is good. I use sunscreen when the UV is 3 or above. So at the moment, there are so many great sunscreens out there at the moment.
Overwhelming again. Just name one really good one. We've got Julius's. Any other?
I like the Julius's one. There's a new Augustine's Beta one, which is good.
Quite expensive.
Yes. I've always loved the Sizzly one, the Sunlay range that they do, which is great. Dermalogica have got quite a good one. It's a bit thicker. What I like about theirs is that they are coming at it from a point of view of heat is also bad. And as I get quite a lot of redness in my skin, which it reacts very quickly to the heat. I'm quite interested to see if that does make a difference. The only thing is it's a little bit thicker than some of the others. The others are meant to be worn as skincare, really. And then I'm very into makeup by Merit at the moment. I'm wearing a Merit lipstick today.
Which is beautiful. We're discussing. I love the shade.
Thank you. Yeah, it's like a kind of, it feels like a deep browny, slight red in it, but not a red.
Feels quite 90s.
Yes, it does. It actually does. So I'm enjoying that. So those are 3 things. I mean, I could go on and on and on. And what I have to do every so often is just clear everything out and
But
almost
also you
start
must get
over.
sent, as a beauty writer, you must get sent so.
I do get sent a lot of things. I do. I'm very lucky.
Yeah, so actually it's lovely for you to share that because it's top tips for everybody. And we've got to talk about brows, Kathleen. You have got great brows.
Thanks to
and
you, can I just say?
Well,
It weren't
it's a
so
good
great
base to work
yesterday.
off, to work from. So yes, you popped in yesterday to get your brows done, and
I
they
did.
do look lovely. And
Thank you.
I just wondered if you, like me, had a lot of brow when you were younger.
I did.
I mean, did you have the monobrow like me?
I didn't have a monobrow. I had quite bushy brows. I mean, it's funny because, I was in a school where vanity was really frowned upon. And so it was very strict. It was a convent boarding school. So you were not allowed to show any attention to how you looked. And my parents were also quite strict about that as well. So you just kind of kept clean. You didn't over pluck your brows or do anything like that. Although one of my sisters did, she was a bit more of a rebel. But my mother made me promise. She said, do not touch your eyebrows until you are at least 18. And I didn't even touch them at 18 because by that stage I didn't really know what I was doing with them anyway. And also I was riding on the crest of Brooke Shields and, poster girl for thick brows. And thank God for her because she kind of made my brows okay and acceptable. And
then after her came Kate Moss, so that was a disaster.
Yeah, but I kind of ignored that.
Yeah, well, that's great. A lot of people didn't. So
I knew it wasn't going to suit me. So I just kind of kept with what I had, and people seemed to like my brows. So, and
well, they're such a coveted thing. I think if you looked after them when you were younger, you definitely see the benefits of that now.
Yes, I think actually if you just kind of ignore them as much as possible, and then now I remember your first chair in Fenwick, and discovering threading was amazing because up until then people would, do you remember they would wax them? They'd like put bits of wax underneath and they'd take them off. It wasn't bad, but once you had somebody who could thread, because they understood that you can, with just tiny little moves, you can make your brows look longer, and you can. The thing I could never get my head around was how they'd say, oh, do you want me to trim them? And I'd be like, oh, no. I'm like, no, let me try. And then they get the scissors out and they go along the top. And somehow your brows looked thicker and bigger. I don't understand how, but they managed to, I guess it's like getting a good haircut.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and what I've been doing lately with them is going to Blink, and I promise this isn't an ad, and getting them tinted, which is something I didn't really subscribe to until a couple of years ago. And then when I did, I was like, well, this is amazing. This is fantastic. They look really thick again. And I hadn't even noticed that they were looking less thick, but they were definitely fading a bit in their colour.
Well, I'm in the same boat because the girls told me to get my brows tinted, and I thought, I don't need to. I've got dark brows.
Yes, that's what I thought.
And I realised that they are fading.
Yes.
And just a quick tint does wonders.
Yes.
Brings them back to life. And then you don't have to put all the tinted gel on. So it is a really good little tip for people that.
Always, actually, I know if I'm feeling a little bit, not down, but just not quite happy about how I look without being able to put my finger on it. I know that if I go and look in that ring light mirror and I see my brows going, "Rah, rah, rah," I know it's time. And I go round the corner, I get my brows done, and I'm like, oh, that was good. That feels better. Everything feels better.
Yeah,
It's
it's
crazy
so
how much
it
it
is
makes me
true.
feel so much better about life.
I know, and it's
Just
an
my
easy one. I
eyebrows. What a
always think
sad
just
person
get
that
your
I am.
brows right, and
Yeah.
the rest will follow.
Yes.
So,
No, it's true.
and one question, Kathleen, that
Yes.
I ask all of the guests is that if you weren't doing what you do now, which you seem to be made for, but do you think something else might have come along while you've been on this journey to have diverted you down a different path?
Well, it's true. I did always want to do this. Even when I was a kid, I used to make magazines. I used to cut out my mum's magazines and stick them into scrapbooks, and they were always things like Family Circle. They weren't even the glamorous ones like Vogue. I wish I could tell a better story, but I think more and more I'm thinking I want some time to do this business properly. I want to really get my teeth into it. Um, but what I want to start leaning into in time a bit more, I have already done it, but I want to do a bit more of it. I would love to just get really good at writing scripts and writing fiction. And I'm not really good at them. I'm okay at them, but I'm not really good at them. So I want to really lean into that. And I don't think I'm one of those people that will ever just stop working. I suspect I will probably always work. So that would be a lovely little project that I could kind of still feel a part of life and very much engaged in characters and storytelling and all those things that I find fun. But
I think you'd be great because also along your journey, you've probably met some truly wonderful characters and you've watched
yes,
the world change around the whole retail beauty industry. So I'm sure there's a script in that.
what do you mean about the beauty
I
industry?
think so.
I
Like
better
kind of
get
Devil
out.
Wears Prada,
Yeah,
but you
I
know,
think I might have to get
the
out of the
perfume.
beauty industry first before
Yeah,
I wrote.
that is so true. Yes. Just change a few names.
Yes,
That's
exactly.
all. Well, thank you, Kathleen, for joining me on the sofa today. It's been so lovely dipping in and out of your
Really
career, sharing beauty tips, and I feel I've known you forever, and I'm so happy that you are in the beauty world with me, two fellow Pisceans.
yes.
What could go wrong?
What could go
What
wrong?
could go
Everything
wrong?
can go right.
And I also wish you lots of luck with La Pyae. It's a beautiful brand.
Thank you.
Love the scent. I'm excited to see what comes next.
Thank you.